Good afternoon, everyone. This is Seth Moore again, coming to you here on Anchor by Spotify. It is 3:24 in the afternoon, and it's a rainy, cool 58 degrees, between 58 62 degrees day here in the Love State, and we are back again to bring you some advantageous and critical information as it relates to our global stage here. And oftentimes I come and I do podcasts on a plethora of different things, and I'm kind of feeling doing something different today, kind of off the beaten path, and maybe not. I normally wouldn't go this way, but I felt that it's important, and obviously I'm feeling led to do this. And so if I say some things that you don't, obviously don't agree with, then of course, that's something that you have to take up with the Creator, and, you have to do self introspection. So that's totally on you. So, again, I was thinking and I was feeling, to bring this forward, and, what my feelings and what my thoughts are, where my heart is on this, and just how, I just normally look at the world and the things that are going on, and how we as a people respond to different things, or we don't respond. And oftentimes, and I've said this before, I think that sometimes that we're so caught up into daily life that we don't prioritize or departmentalize, what it is that is critical to our ascension, to our families, to just how we see the world, because I think a lot of things are done in a vacuum with a lot of us, and outside of that, we really don't know what's going on. We don't have a clue. And as always said, I don't say that to be pejorative, and I don't say things to insult you, but just to make you aware, excuse me. Yeah, just to make you aware so that you will be a critical thinker, that you'll be able to think without somebody kind of leading you, that you'll think independently, and that you can think independently outside of somebody else telling you what it is, and you just accept it hook, line, and sinker. And a lot of this is because we just don't know, and sometimes I don't know if we even care to know, actually what's going on in the world. And and I often think that maybe it's because and I'm dealing with what I want to deal with is I want to deal with those who label themselves as Christians. And I often say that I'm not a Christian. And I have a very good reason for saying that. You understand what I mean? It's because I understand, I overstand. I don't put labels on myself without understanding. And this is what a lot of us do. We call ourselves things without having done the research and without really knowing what it is we're calling ourselves. And it's like a fad, or it's like a trend. Like we, what's going on today. When you look at what's going on today, it's like, it's a travesty. It really is. You got men wanting to be women. We're dealing with you know, um, education where in certain settings in schools now, they're trying to get children to adopt this transgender identity, you know, and in fact, they're even going even further where they're trying to indoctrinate children to accept, you know, this 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 new debauchery when it comes to their sexuality or their orientation as to who they are, you know, and it's terrible, you know, it's terrible that they're trying to indoctrinate little children, boys and girls, to make them think that if they want to choose to be a little girl, although this little kid has not been born a little girl, okay, that they encourage it, and even if the parents of these children want to fight against this, it is going as far as they can have you arrested for going against the will of your children. That's how wicked the society is now. Okay? And they've gone even further now where this is why, one of the reasons why they don't want to teach these things in school. There is self-identification of other people's usurping the identities of other people. And they will go to war with you over it. This is what we have going on now in what they call the Middle East, which is no Middle East. The Middle East that they're talking about, that you hear, is actually Northeast Africa, or a Kebulon. Okay, because Africa is not even the correct derivative, because it was named after Scipio Africanus. Okay, usually when you conquer a land, you put your name on it. Okay, so this is what's going on now in Israel, where you have people who are usurping the authority over other people. People who are in a land that is not theirs. Okay? People who, if you look around the world, the globe, you'll have people in places they actually don't belong because they came in as invaders. They came in as usurpers. They came in taking over lands and resources of other people. And so this is why you have global hegemony that's going on around the world. Okay? And all of this consternation that's taking place throughout different regions is because they were not happy with the way the Creator set stuff up. So they thought that they would intervene or interrupt or infiltrate, which they did. And so this is what you have going on in the world. Okay, so we're going to pause for a moment and we're going to come right back. But again, remember, you're listening to Scott Buckley in the orchestra, as we always play, and we will be, if we remember, mentioning him at the close of this podcast. So stay with us, and we will be right back in a moment. Okay, and we're back, and this is Seth Moore again, coming to you here on Anchor by Spotify. And we're going to be reading in your hearing today some information that I think is critical for you to do self-introspection when you have a moment of your own time to get away, steal away, and begin to research this and study for yourself, because the scriptures does say that my people are destroyed. Hosea. You can find that in the book of Hosea. I believe it's in chapter 2 or 6, somewhere around there. And it says because of that, he said, I will destroy you because of your lack of knowing. Okay? And you shall be no priest unto me. This is what the scripture says. So don't get mad at me. Okay? Don't be upset with the messenger. Okay? I'm telling you what the book that you say you live by, this is what it's saying. Okay, this is what it's saying. Okay, so we're going to give you some things here, and we just want to go over some things here. And we will, okay. And we're going to see what we're going to do. We're going to give you some Greek translations. Okay? And because for those of you who are aware, and for many of you who may not be, you know that the very book that you read or study has been translated many times. And as I said before in another podcast that I had done, that the King James Version is just what it is. It's a version. That's his version. So you are not actually reading the original scroll or the original papyrus or the original, doctrine of these scribes that were actually comprising and compiling this information and as it became what we call gospel. And that's a whole nother story. The spell that was put on people. Because there is a lot of writings in the English lexicon and so forth that spells were cast upon people through words. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there are spells that are cast through speaking. That's why they call it spelling. You understand what I mean? You understand? Spelling. In other words, a spell is cast, and if you go into the English lexicon and you go back to early English language, okay, there were many things that were done to cast spells upon you and me. And of course, for the ignorant, for those who don't know. That's why when we were in school as kids and you learned about things such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf and Jack and Jill went up the hill. All of these things have spells to them. They have connotations to put you in a frame of thinking, to program you, and to make you think that something is other than what it is. And so the programming through these things cause you to develop and to act out and to live out your life a certain way. And unbeknownst to a lot of us, a lot of these things are still embedded within our psyche. A lot of these things are still embedded within our spirit and how we move and how we breathe. And they're very subtle. They're very subtle because what has happened is we never really cleansed ourselves of these programs, of these chips that have been put in us like a computer. Those chips are still embedded within our psyche, within our soul, within our spirit. And so a lot of us have never rid ourselves of these things. Okay? Okay, so now, let us move on. Let's see. Let us see here. And a lot of you, you read strong, exhaustive concordance, I think, when you study. I think some of you do. I think some of you do. But I'll just give you, because, let me say this, a lot of you think, okay, because when you read, an example. When you read Matthew, and for instance, an example would be the New American Standard. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Okay, this is the Englishman's Concordance, right? It says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Now, what is that saying? Now, you're probably thinking that when that says that, your mind probably immediately goes to a person who's devoid of, destitute of the basic necessities of life, such as food, shelter, clothing, things like that. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Okay, so who's the blessed in the poor in spirit? And then the King James Version says the same thing. Are the poor in spirit. Who are the poor in spirit? And the NIV, or the INT, and it says the same thing. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Oh, let's see what the Greek says. In the New American Standard, it says the poor have the gospel preached. The King James Version, it says the poor have the gospel preached to them. The INT says are raised and poor are evangelized. In Matthew 19:21, it says, and to the poor, and you will have what? The poor with you always? Is that what it says? I believe so, right? But then the King James Version, to the poor, and then of course the INT says, give to the poor, and you will have, right? Okay? And talks about the money, giving the money to the poor, King James Version, and given to the poor, and have been given to the poor. And of course, the New Standard Version, have the poor with you, but you do not always, for ye have the poor always with you, right? Indeed, the poor you have with you. Okay, so now, all of these scriptures talks about you have the poor with you, and it's giving you a description. It says the poor in spirit. Now, the Strong Concordance in the Greek, it says fracas, right? Of one who crouches and cowards, hence beggarly, poor. Okay. Now the part of the objective, listen, objective and transliteration, phonetic spelling, PTOKHOS, phokos, I believe that is. The definition of one who crouches and cowards, hence beggarly, poor, uses poor, destitute, as mentioned earlier, spiritually poor, either in a good sense, humble, devout person, or bad. So, with that being said, are Christians poor in spirit? Poor in spirit would translate to me that you don't have a healthy spirit. Because how could you be poor in spirit and be blessed in the spirit as a poor person, or having a poor spirit? Okay, because the English version says, blessed are the poor in spirit, but in the Greek it talks about one who crouches and cowards, hence beggarly, poor, destitute, spiritually poor, either in a good sense, humble, devout persons, or bad. So which is it, y'all? Now, some of you may be saying, well, I know I ain't poor in the spirit like that, but you in a bad way. But how do you know? Because how do you respond to certain things spiritually? Hello, somebody. How do you respond to certain things spiritually? And I would beg to differ that a lot of us are poor in the spirit in a bad way. I would put an arm or a leg on that. I would. And I don't say that, again, to be pejorative or to put no one down. But I would say that because of the way we deal with one another. And of course, that's not all of us. That's not all of us. It's just too many of us. That we are poor in the spirit, beggarly, destitute, okay, either in a good or a bad way. And as I've mentioned, I think a lot of us is in a bad way because of what we think of ourselves. A lot of us really know how to hide. A lot of us really know how to hide. We mask a lot of our insecurities. We mask a lot of us mask our idiosyncrasies and, our shortcomings, and, we want to look down on other people. We want to think that because we have a certain attachment to a certain material thing that makes us better, but we are really poor in the spirit. Follow me. We are really poor in the spirit. Right now, what's going on in Israel, a lot of us who have labeled ourselves Christians, which means poor fella, I'm going to read some more to you, we don't even have a clue. We may have just a faint idea, but a lot of us don't even have a clue, but we fill up the churches every Sunday because we believe that those buildings our saving grace. And I know a lot of you will say, well, it's about relationship. But who do you have a relationship with? Do you have a relationship within your inner God self? Or are you operating out of emotions? Because a lot of us, unfortunately, we serve a God of emotions. We serve a God of emotions. We serve a God of, if it feels good, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. If it feels good, I'm good. But when it don't feel good, we begin to question our validity. We begin to question what we call our faith. We begin to question if we're standing on solid ground. Take emotions out of it, and what do you have? You have a lot of confused, discombobulated, unstable people, because you have that even with the emotions. Let us go on. So we talked about, it says to crouch or cower like a beggar, properly bent over, figuratively, deeply destitute, completely lacking resources, earthly wealth, i.e. helpless as a beggar, relates to the pauper rather than the mere peasant, the extreme opposite of the rich. So this is what the poor in spirit is talking about. So the exhaustive concordance, it talks about the origin, okay? Objective from phosos, to crouch, cower, definition one who crouches and cowers, hence, beggarly, poor. Now, Thayer's Greek lexicon, it talks about the same thing. It says to be thoroughly frightened, to cower down or hide oneself for fear. Hence, properly one who slinks and crouches, often involving the idea of roving about in wretchedness at the end, but it always had a bad sense till it was ennobled in the Gospels. So it was ennobled in the Gospels. So it means that it was changed. So you will read in the Gospels, it means one thing, and as I'm reading to you, obviously you know that it's something entirely different. In the classical Greek form, Homer down, reduced to beggarly, begging, mendicant, asking alms. And you can find this. Let me give you some scriptures. So for of course all you though that study and read Matthew 5:3, and then you go to Luke 6:20, 2 Corinthians 8 and 9. Okay, and you can find that, and also you can find in Luke 14:13, 21, Luke 16 and 20, 22. And do your due diligence and search other things. Because as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, it says, my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. Okay, so when you study, when you research, you'll get the information and you won't find yourself being pegged in those categories. Poor needy, opposed to Matthew 19:21, Matthew 26:9-11, Mark 10:21, Mark 12:42-43, Mark 14:5-7, Luke 18:22, Luke 19:8, Luke 21:3, John 12:5, 6 and 8, John 13:29, and then Romans 15:26. I'm giving you guys a whole lot of scriptures. Okay, you got 2 Corinthians 6:10, Galatians 2:10, James 2 and 2, 3 and 6, Revelations 13:16, in a broader sense, destitute of wealth, influence, position, honors, lowly afflicted, Matthew 11, Luke 14:18, from Isaiah 61 and 1, and partitive and genitive, the poor of the human race, James 2:5, but the more correct reading is that of LT and TRWH, okay, and you can find that in these lexicons. Ungodly world being judged. And then it goes on to say, tropically destitute of the Christian virtues and the eternal riches, Revelations 3:17, like the Latinops, equivalent to helpless, powerless to accomplish an end, bringing no rich endowment of spiritual treasure. And that's Lightfoot. Now, this is what the Greek gives the definitions of poor in the spirit and Christian, as to denote the label of Christians and what it actually denotes and means. So it would behoove you to actually do some, again, research and study to find out before you start labeling yourself certain things, to know what it actually means. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, really. You know, and don't be caught up in really. I mean, because a lot of us cannot differentiate, or or we don't know how to separate ourselves from what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. Because a lot of us, we want the best of both worlds. And you can't have it like that. See, because a lot of us are more of one thing than we are the other thing. And yet we want to be the thing that we want to be, but the other thing takes precedence over what we should be actually being and doing. And so we have this kind of seesaw, lopsided kind of narrative about who we supposed to be. See, because we all in between, or we straddle in the fence, and you'll be better off not calling yourself anything and just being and living and being a good individual. You don't have to label yourself anything, because even your Bible tells you that there will be those that didn't label themselves anything. And then what did the master say? He said, when they said, oh, they're over there doing this and doing that. And he said, well, if they're not against me, they're for me. You understand? So you don't have to label yourself something to be that thing. And the problem has been, for a lot of us, we put labels on ourselves without being it. Okay. So, again, Okay, so yeah, again, so with what is going on, as I mentioned earlier, right now in Israel, right now in Israel, is that we are so close to this culmination of what's getting ready to take place in the globe by what we see in the world. And for those of us who are abreast of the information and we're following not just the signs, but we're following what has been written and how what has been written is being deciphered, and you are a spiritual linguist. In other words, you understand the writing, whether it be in Greek, whether it be in German, whether it be, because spiritually you are attuned. So no matter what language it's written in your soul, it's written on your heart, it's written in your spirit. You follow me? And that is why it's so critical, as I mentioned before, because all of these things play a great part of your connection, your magnetic connection with the Creator, and what you eat, what you put in your temple. See, and that's another, and I've done that before, but that's another podcast altogether. A lot of you, as I mentioned, again, you claim certain things, but you don't even honor your temple. You don't honor your body. And didn't the Bible that you read or you study, didn't it tell you that your body's a temple? And if you destroy your temple, the Creator will destroy you. Come on, y'all. You have to honor your body. You have to honor what you live inside of. Yes, you have to say the things that I used to do, I don't do no more. A lot of you have that testimony of things that I used to do, I don't do no more. I don't put poison in my body. I don't sleep around, or I don't smoke crack. I don't drink alcohol. I don't, now the question is too, some people have said, is it okay to have wine? Okay, Jesus turned water into wine. I would say, for me, it's okay to have a glass of wine every now and again. Every now and again. Now, for me, I've never been really a drinker. Okay, but I was in back home last year with my children for Christmas. I had a glass of wine. But guess what? I haven't had one since then. Because it's not something I'm given over to as a habit. I don't need it. And of course, sometimes I'll use wine to cook because it flavors, the food. And then, of course, when you haven't been an ex-chef, when you cook with wine, all the alcohol goes out. It evaporates. And you just get the flavor. Okay, but anyways, it's critical. It's important that you honor your temple, that you honor what you live in, what you put inside of you. Your mind, body, and spirit in your soul. It's critical. What you feed your children. Stop giving your children all that sugar, all that cereal, all that stuff that's killing them. Do you read what's on the box? Do you read what's in the food when you go into the store? Do you pick up things? Do you read? Do you read? Or do you just throw it in there because it looks good or it tastes good? Because, as you know, they're manipulating the food through the seed. You have to understand, you have to be spiritually conscious of what you do. And a lot of us are so, oh my goodness. We don't, do you read? Are you concerned with what you're putting in your body when you buy food? Leave the pork alone. Leave the hamburgers alone. Leave all that. It's no good for you. I don't even eat, and I've said this before, and I'm not bragging, but I'm concerned with how I feel. I want to feel great. So I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork. I don't eat hamburger. I don't eat hot dogs. I don't eat none of that stuff. I don't eat none of it. Now, what I do eat is I'll buy bison. Bison is expensive. It's like $10, $11 a pack, okay? And then sometimes I'll buy lamb. Lamb is like $20 a pack. Or depending on the size you get, it could be $30 a pack. But those are the only meats that I will eat. Because I know bison is grass-fed. Buffalo are not roaming around in the U.S. You got to go further out to get buffalo. Buffalo, let me put it this way. They're not roaming around on basic farms. Let me put it like that. You just don't, because that's not where they graze. Okay? But other than that, I don't eat any of that stuff. Packaged lunch meat, all that stuff. I don't eat it. Because you think about this for a moment. Think about this. I'll give you an example. One thing I do love, I'm a bread eater. I love bread. I'm a bread eater. But I'm beginning to try to get my bread fresh, because think about this for a moment. When you go in the store and you see bread on the shelf, right? How long do you think that bread has been there? If a bread is sitting on the shelf every time you come in the store, month after month after month, don't you know that sometimes, and they do sales and stuff like that, how many in preservatives they have to put in that bread for it to remain on that shelf for a long period of time? And I was being funny but I was being honest too. When I made a pie about a week ago, and I said, Patti LaBelle, eat your heart out. Because at one point I was buying her pies. And then, because I always read what I buy. But the initial thing, I was doing it as support. But I said, you know what? I read her thing. I'm not buying her pies no more. And I'm not saying that to put her down. But you look at what's in there. Corn syrup, this, that, the other. And her pies are not refrigerated. And I put a claimer on that. Allegedly. They'll put them out. But you go in the store and they're just sitting there on a shelf. I can make my own, which I did. All natural ingredients, raw honey, raw sugar, a little cream, non-dairy cream, vanilla, and sweet potatoes. Okay, but anyways, you have to take care of your temple. It's critical, y'all. It's your connectivity. It's your way out. Some of you don't think you have need of your body, but you do. You do. You're going to. You're going to. So we're gonna finish up here. We're gonna we're going to be ending this. And yeah, we're going to be, and we're going to come back again. But I just wanted to, bring you something here to make you think. I want to make you think. I want you to think how critical it really is that you begin to think about how you react and how you respond to different things, you know, and what you say and you put on yourself before actually knowing what you're saying. Yeah, what you put on yourself, okay, before you actually study it. Yeah, before you say, I'm this, I'm that, and you haven't done any due diligence to know what it is you're saying, you're putting on yourself. Okay? So it's important that you do that. So that you'll know the active verb, you'll know the middle noun, and you'll know the passive, the adverb. And, you know, you'll be able to apply these things in a nominative sense, the vocative sense, you know, and all of these different areas that we should know that we relate to labeling ourselves and finding out, saying, what should I, you know, why am I calling myself this? Why am I labeling myself this? Okay, do I really know what I'm putting on myself? You know, and then more important than that, before I close, is that, am I hearing what I should be hearing? Am I digesting what I should be digesting? And where I go and I digest and I hear things, am I hearing what I should be hearing at this present time? Because at this present time, what you should be hearing should be readying you, because you should already be prepared, but should be readying you to embrace what's coming, to embrace what's coming. Because it says in the scripture, like a thief in the night, right? But should be readying you, because again, you should already be prepared. Not getting prepared, but already prepared. So that you are embracing and you can embrace. See, because a lot of us, let me say this, and I actually believe that certain things are going to transpire differently than the way it's been given to us. See, because a lot of us will not be able to handle any tribulation. See, because a lot of us, you know how we frame it. We believe those who are in the Christian, for the lack of a better word, those who are in the Christian world, believe that there's going to be a rapture. We're going to be scooped up, and we're going to be just scooped up, and we don't have to endure anything. But honestly, come on, y'all. Think about it. You know, when I look at certain things, do you believe when you go to those buildings and when you go to what you call church, do you actually believe that where you go and as you look around the Christian world, that's a bride acceptable for the Creator? Come on, y'all. Really? I mean, honestly, just ask yourself that. Do you think that is a bride worthy to be received or to be embraced by the Creator? Or a lot of us would say, well, we're covered under the blood. We have a lot of excuses. We're covered under the blood, and our past sins are forgiven, and all of this stuff and all of that stuff, but we just as ratchet as we want to be. Think about it, man. I mean, really, think about it. Ratchet as we want to be, but we'll claim God in a minute. But then people don't treat one another right. Families are broken apart. You know what I'm saying? Families don't like one another. Families are envious. Families are jealous. People are got all of this stuff going on. But then they'll, out of the other side of their mouth, they'll say, God in a minute. God this and God that. I shake my head. I really do. I shake my head. That's why I say I don't put labels on myself. I don't say, people, I'm not a Christian. No, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a poor fella. I'm not a beggarly, crouching, cowardly individual. I'm not that. And I just believe that we've been duped. We've got it twisted, and we're being led astray. Because the book even says that even the ones who are so-called leading people, they're not going in, but they'll prevent you from going in. That's why you got to be wise. You got to be spiritually attuned. You got to be wise, because the very people who are preaching to you are not going in, but they'll prevent you and keep you from going in. Just like the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and them Sadducees. You feel me? And if people are not posturing you and putting you in a posture and giving you critical information as to what's going on now, when we look over in Israel and we find out what's going on and we see what's going on, and as I said, readying you, because you should already be prepared. All right, beloved. So, anyways, I just wanted to give you that. And until the next time, Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you here again on Anchor by Spotify. You're listening to Scott Buckley. Remember to smash that button to like and share, and we will see you on the next podcast. Have a great afternoon. And remember that you're listening to Scott Buckley and Clarion. Till the next time.